Okay, so this video is more of a conversation, a visual conversation, I guess. It's surrounding the questions that you should be asking yourself before you purchase something, before you buy something, pretty much before you purchase anything. Because let's face it, a lot of people don't ask themselves any questions, and this is where things like buyer's remorse and just feeling bad about things that you're purchasing, having no money, financial instability, a lot of these things come from. So I think it's important to have a set of questions that you're asking yourself before pretty much every purchase. There's some caveats, of course, as with anything, but let's dive into it. So there's a total of 5 questions that you should be asking yourself, right, before you buy something. The first question is, do you need it? Think about what your wants are versus what your needs are. Say, for example, you have an iPhone 7. It works perfectly well. You don't need a new iPhone, but you feel like you want one. This is where you'd ultimately stop and hit that wall where you say, no, I don't need it. So you then don't buy it. And that's because your wants don't align with your needs. Now, say on the other hand, your phone dies out, you don't have a phone at all, and you figure last time you bought it, you bought the best one. Maybe now it's time to invest in another one that's going to last for a while. There you go. Buy yourself a new phone. Now, if yes, you're going to go on to the second question, which is, can you afford it? A lot of people might think that they can afford things, but the simple answer is if you couldn't afford buying it outright with cash, then you probably can't actually afford it, because ultimately credit doesn't count. Now, if you use credit cards smartly and you use credit smartly and pay it off every month without building up interest, then you're using credit different than if, say, you're ultimately paying interest on something that you don't even really need in general. Now, if the answer to this question is yes, the next question that you have to ask yourself is, have you looked at alternatives? Now, if you haven't looked at alternatives, if you haven't done your research, then you should probably take some time and do your research more about the product that you're looking into. For example, let's stick with the iPhone. Do you necessarily need the iPhone 15 or 16 or 17, whatever it is, the newest phone at the time of watching this video? Or can you settle for a little bit of an older model that does everything that you need and you don't need all these specced out things on the newest one because it's just not the best value for you? Real quick, have you subscribed to the channel? Have you liked the video? Now, if you ultimately look into it and the answer is yes, you have looked at your alternatives, you have done your research, the next question will be, is this the best deal? You should always be trying to get the best deal for the things that you buy and things that you use. I think that's a no-brainer. But if you don't feel that this is the best deal, then you should go back to the question number 3 and consider your alternatives. Consider the other things that you've looked at. For example, with the iPhone, right? You really want the newest one to have the newest one, but you don't need all the things on there. You're not even going to use all the functionalities of that phone, as opposed to the functionalities that you need in the alternatives that are cheaper and the best deal. Now, if the answer to this is yes, we move on to the 5th and final question. Is it high quality? You want to be purchasing high quality items. You want to be purchasing things that are going to last, that are built to last, that have warranties for lifetimes. You want to be purchasing those things. You want to be spending your money on those things rather than junk. You don't want to be buying junk. So it's interesting because this question actually breaks out into another question of, does quality matter in this certain scenario, in this case? I think we can think of some things like a toothbrush or just simple things like that, where maybe if you're just buying another toothbrush, new toothbrush, you don't need to get the best quality one. If you're looking for cheaper, just something to get the job done. But for most things, you're always going to want to be looking at quality. So if quality does matter to you and it's not high quality, then don't buy it, because you don't want to buy junk, as I said before. But if quality doesn't matter to you and that's a no, or if it is high quality and that's a yes, ding, 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 spend your money. Buy it. By just asking yourself these questions, by just going through this process in your brain, you're going to open up some free income on some things that you were spending money on before that you didn't necessarily need, and you're going to be buying better things that are more suited to your actual needs. Now, again, if you go through any of these questions and you hit a no at any point, you're ultimately going to go to the don't buy it. You should be reconsidering this. Now, if you go through every one of these questions and you hit a yes along the way, every single time, every single one is a yes, buy it. As I mentioned, there's caveats, right? There's things that you really want and you want to treat yourself maybe, and you only splurge on things once a year or whatever it may be, right? That works best for you. It's nice to get yourself gifts, take care of yourself a little bit. But it's good to have a set of questions that you walk through every time you want to purchase something to see if it makes sense. So you don't run into being financially unstable because you have just a shopping addiction. You're just overly consuming things that you don't really use and don't really need. And you don't want to be buying junk. You want to buy the things that are going to make you the most happy. You're not going to want to have buyer's remorse in the end and feel bad about making the purchase because now you don't have money for something else that you actually do need. Or you don't even use this thing, or this thing falls apart after a couple uses and it just isn't worth it. Now, to be fair, I did steal this whole image and this whole sort of walkthrough of questions from some random thing on the internet, and there's multiple other versions with different questions that you can look into, but I think it's the practice and making it a habit of thinking through things before you make a purchase and not being an impulse buyer. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, let me know what your thoughts are. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.